The night they changed the locks, the porch light was still on. I remember that because it made everything brighter than I wanted it to be. I stood on the sidewalk with one suitcase, my hands shaking, staring at the front door like it might open if I waited long enough. It didn't. The house I helped pay for felt suddenly smaller, colder, like it had already forgotten me. I'm Eleanor Hartwell, but everyone calls me Ellie. I had moved back home a few years earlier to help out for a while. That was how it started. I worked long hours, paid what I could, and kept telling myself it was temporary. Bills landed on my lap without discussion. Groceries, repairs, late notices. Somehow, they all became my problem. I told myself that families help each other. I believed that meant something. My mother, Mara, cared deeply about how things looked from the outside. The house had to be perfect. The neighbors had to think we were fine. Any crack in that picture made her angry. Gordon, my stepfather, stayed quiet. He avoided conflict like it was a disease. And Brandon, my younger half-brother, never worried about anything. If he messed up, someone else fixed it. Usually me. I cooked, cleaned, paid, and listened. I swallowed my frustration because I thought loyalty mattered. I thought love meant endurance. I ignored the way decisions were made without me, even when they involved my money. I ignored the way my room felt less like mine every month. The argument came out of nowhere. At least that's how it felt. One small disagreement turned sharp fast. Words piled up. Accusations flew. Suddenly, everything I had ever done was twisted into something ugly. I tried to explain. I tried to calm things down. No one listened. Mara's voice was cold. Gordon looked at the floor. Brandon smirked like this wasn't his problem. Mara told me I was ungrateful. She said I brought tension into the house. Gordon nodded barely. Then she said I had to leave. That night, no discussion, no warning. When I came back later to grab my things, the locks were changed. Standing there with my suitcase, I felt small. I felt stupid for believing I belonged. The house behind me was quiet, sealed shut, and done with me. I walked away with nowhere to go, carrying the weight of betrayal heavier than anything in my bag. When I first moved back in, everyone kept calling it temporary. I had lost my apartment after a job change and my mother said it only made sense to come home for a little while. She promised it would be like old times. She said the door was always open to me. I wanted to believe her. At the start, I offered to help with small things. I paid for my own food and covered a utility bill here and there. Over time, those small things grew. One bill became two. Groceries for myself turned into groceries for everyone. When something broke, I was the one who handled it. No one asked anymore. The expectation just settled in quietly. There were conversations where my mother smiled and said, "This is your home, too." She said it when she needed reassurance or when I hesitated about sending money. I held on to those words. They made the sacrifices feel worth it. I told myself I wasn't being used. I was contributing. I was part of the family. Brandon never had those expectations placed on him. He spent money carelessly and shrugged when it ran out. He skipped responsibilities and laughed it off. If he caused a problem, it was brushed aside as stress or bad luck. If I questioned it, I was told to be understanding. He was still finding himself. I was told I was stronger and could handle more. Slowly, I noticed how decisions were made without me. Changes happened in the house without asking my opinion, even though I helped pay for them. My room was treated like spare space. My time was treated like it was always available. When I came home tired, there was always something else that needed to be done. Whenever I looked uncomfortable, guilt followed. My mother would sigh and talk about how hard her life was. Gordon would remind me how much the family depended on me. If I pulled back even slightly, I was made to feel selfish. The message was clear. My value came from what I provided. I didn't see it all at once. It crept in slowly. A comment here, a look there. The feeling that I had to earn my place every day. I began to feel like a guest who paid rent, not a daughter who belonged. By the time resentment settled in, it was quiet and heavy. I still showed up. I still paid, but something inside me had shifted. I started to realize that love shouldn't feel like a debt, and home shouldn't feel like something that could be taken away at any moment. Everything fell apart because of Brandon. He had always lived like rules didn't apply to him. But this time it went too far. He made a decision that cost real money, the kind that couldn't be brushed away with excuses. The details were kept vague at first, whispered behind closed doors, but I could feel the tension in the house. Bills started stacking up. Voices dropped when I entered a room. No one asked Brandon to take responsibility. Instead, the house filled with anger, looking for somewhere else to land. I became the easiest target. I was calm. I didn't yell. I didn't disappear. That made me convenient. Mara was the first to turn openly. She said my attitude had changed. She said I brought negativity into the house. According to her, I made everyone uncomfortable. She twisted concern into criticism and silence into disrespect. Suddenly, I wasn't the helper anymore. I was the problem. I tried to defend myself, but every word I spoke was used against me. If I explained, I was being dramatic. If I stayed quiet, I was being cold. Mara said I was disrupting the family's peace, that things had been fine before I came back. Hearing that hurt more than I expected. I had given years of my life to that house. I looked to Gordon, waiting for him to step in. He didn't. He stood there, hands in his pockets, eyes avoiding mine. His silence felt louder than any accusation. In that moment, I understood that he would never choose conflict over comfort, even if it meant sacrificing me. The blame kept piling up. I was accused of being selfish, ungrateful, and disloyal. None of it was true, but truth didn't matter anymore. The decision had already been made. Mara told me I needed to leave. Not someday. Not after we talked. That night, she said it calmly, like she was asking me to move my car. There was no argument left to have. I packed what I could and left to cool off, thinking surely things would settle by morning. When I came back, my key didn't work. I tried again, then again, my chest tightening each time. The locks had been changed. Through the window, I saw boxes stacked near the door. My clothes, my books, pieces of my life sealed up like clutter. I stood there staring, feeling stripped of dignity. Years of loyalty ended with my belongings treated like garbage. That was the moment it became clear. I wasn't family anymore. I was disposable. Naomi Keller was the only person I could think to call. We hadn't talked much in recent years, but when I told her I had nowhere to go, she didn't ask questions. She told me to come over. Her apartment wasn't big, but it felt safe. I slept on her couch with my suitcase beside me like it might disappear if I let it out of sight. Those first days were heavy. I felt embarrassed, needing help again. I replayed everything in my head, wondering what I could have done differently. Anger came in waves followed by doubt. Some nights I stared at the ceiling, convinced maybe I really was the problem, that maybe I had asked for too much just by wanting to belong. My phone stayed silent. No messages, no calls. My family cut me off completely, like flipping a switch. The sudden absence hurt more than the argument itself. It made the rejection feel final, like I had been erased. I kept checking my phone anyway, hoping for something that never came. Money became a constant worry. I had savings, but not enough to feel secure. Every purchase felt risky. I hated counting every dollar, especially after years of carrying other people's weight. Naomi never made me feel like a burden, but I felt it